about a strategy on Monday. And Dom is kind of right. It had to do with like who, what, where.
When, then, what, where.
And being able to figure out the main idea when you read a passage. So we used a reading from Miss Murray's history class, and we went through each paragraph and we said, what did that paragraph talk about? Does anybody remember what the strategy was called? Or any of the letters in the strategy? Gabriel, stop. Earbuds out.
Okay.
Because remember, next Thursday, so almost a week away, you guys are retaking the STAR test. And I will tell you right now, I know some people are like, oh, I don't need to worry about STAR. It doesn't matter. It does. Because I was just talking yesterday to our process coordinator, and when they're looking at setting up your classes for next year, part of what they're looking at is your STAR score. Are you reading at grade level? Are you below grade level? Are you way below grade level?
Yes.
So they are looking at that STAR score to make classes for you guys being sophomores. So you might think, oh, it doesn't matter, but it does. It's determining what classes we can offer you and what supports we can give you. So doing well on the STAR test is very important. That's why I'm trying to give you guys this strategy to help you do well on the STAR. Today, and what we're going to do is I printed off a sample reading from the STAR test. Something that's actually on that test. So that we can practice reading through it and finding the important information and finding the main ideas so we understand what we're reading and can answer the questions correctly to do well. So Dom was right. We talked about a strategy. It had to do with asking questions. Does anybody remember what it was called?
It was some word. I remember it.
It was an acronym. It had letters. So
it's P.
Yep.
I was like autism.
Oh,
I was
Yes.
like autism, retarded, and
Gabriel.
Okay, yes. I heard Dom get it.
PARS.
PARS.
It was, I know R is reading.
PARS.
And I think S was summary.
Okay, so
R
we
is
know
reading, S is summary.
R is read, S is summary. Oops.
And I don't know what A and P word was.
So what do you think you need to do before you read? We talked about looking at pictures, titles,
Paragraphs.
looking at the book.
I was gonna say that, but I was like, no, that might be wrong.
looking at it, or previewing.
Preview.
Yes.
I got something right.
So the P is preview.
Answer.
Close. You're going to answer, but first you have to,
Ask.
yes.
Ask.
So our strategy is called PARS. First,
Literally, when I put PARS up there, I was like, wait, is this golf now?
is this golf? Okay. Yes, Tristan. I will let you look around for that because I'm not sure if there's any in here. All right. So yes, our strategy is called PARS. P for preview, A for ask, R read, and S summary. So got it? Okay.
Well, you're starting some.
So what we're going to do eventually is I am going to print off like a graph paper for you guys to graph how you have done so far on probably the STAR test. And then to make a goal for how you want to do next week when we take it. So here's where I'm at right now. Here's what I want to improve to. I will tell you though, Gabriel, lose the earbuds so you can pay attention. Listening to music while I'm talking is not going to help you learn. So we are going to set a goal having to do with our STAR test and how much you want to improve when we take it next week. What I'm going to tell you guys is, say you had the score of a 670. It probably would not be a wise idea to say, I want to get a 900. Because that would be jumping like 2 whole grade levels. Do you really think that's possible?
You could.
Yes, maybe.
You could if you're
Depends on
smart
if
enough.
you like actually try it on the first.
Like on the stupid.
No. I'm just saying be realistic. The last time we took the STAR was in December.
No.
It will be March when you take it. Do you think you have grown 2 whole grade levels in 3 months?
No.
Probably not. I'm not going to
Probably
say
two.
I'm not going to say you haven't grown, but I'm saying be realistic. It would be realistic to say I want to go from a 670 to a 700.
No.
Goodbye, Gabriel.
30 points. Or a 730. 60 points. Something like that is realistic and actually achievable. That's showing that you've made a couple months worth of growth and are bringing up your score. So that's just a heads up. Make sure you set an achievable goal. All right. So our next thing, I'm going to ask you guys. I'm going to take that away because we don't need it anymore.
70.
All right. Our next thing, I'm going to ask you guys,
I dropped my candy.
where are some situations where you might need to use a strategy like this, where you might have to read a textbook, understand what you read, and then be able to use it?
Yeah,
English.
English.
I said Carl.
What did you say, Tim?
Carl.
College.
American history. We read
Every
a lot of
subject.
it. It's boring.
College. Gabriel,
And
you said history.
Yes.
Does,
Everything in life.
Does bills work?
Bills?
Yeah.
Yeah. A bill's not really going to be written as a paragraph, but you're still going to have to be able to understand. Okay.
What I meant.
I don't understand.
Yeah.
the bills.
You're gonna have to read in life.
I
So,
see the numbers
bills.
and then I'll be like 96.
What about, let me think here.
Engineering.
You gotta read.
So maybe a job, what you want to do as a job.
Job application.
Yeah, even applying for a job, you're going to have to know what they're asking for, right? What do I put here?
What is your phone number? 911. That's me. I will have
816.
You roll the call 911.
What about,
I called it before. And I said,
okay, what about, like, the news?
Instructions.
the
Instructions, the news.
Newspaper.
Because even though you guys are only in 9th grade right now, when you get older, you might actually want to be aware of what's going on in the world and be able to form your own opinions about something. You might want to read about the school shooting in Florida and be able to understand it and make your own opinion about it.
I feel bad.
So I'm going to say the news.
That's why we have phones.
What the?
We can check the news on our phones.
I do that every day. I have an app on my phone and I read the news.
I check the news on my
Or you got a Bible.
I don't really know.
I do.
That's why you buy the little paper. You know, one newspaper. You be like,
Mr. Torrey, I need you to find a seat, please.
okay.
All right. So can you guys think of any other situations where you have to read something
Like I
and
said,
understand it?
Instructions,
Instructions.
news, and like you said,
No,
Go find a chair.
That to me.
Yeah, instructions.
That one, my
If you guys are trying to put together a coffee table
work hard.
that's hard.
or a car,
You just gave a more with. Why a motorcycle?
I'm thinking of something that I've had to do at my house.
Put together a coffee pot.
Or a bookshelf.
Say hello to my honey.
Yes.
Word gate for little
Say,
child.
say
Yeah.
hello to my honey.
Okay, go sit. Gabriel,
What?
I want you to stay in here But if you are going to stay in here, you have to follow directions and be appropriate. Go sit with that here. Even cooking. If you want to make lasagna, you're going to have to read the instructions and know, how long do I boil noodles for? What do I do with the meat?
Wait, how you?
I don't know how to make a cheeseburger.
Yes, it does.
Cheeseburger, he said.
So obviously, not just right now, being in 9th grade, but throughout high school, throughout your life after high school, you're going to have to be able to read and understand. One other example I just thought of is when you go to the doctor.
When you use your phone.
The first time you go to the doctor, they hand you this stack of paper and they're like, fill all this out.
Let's see what's wrong with you.
In some of it, you can just check a box. But other parts, there's stuff that you actually have to read and understand. Who do I want to be able to read my doctor's visits notes? Who do I want to be able to know what's going on? What am I signing off on? Just this week, I had to fill out paperwork for daycare.
Or a
What is
contract.
that?
Yeah.
Um,
And I had to be able to understand, okay, what are they wanting me to sign? Why is this important? So those are all good examples of why you need to understand and read. All right, my next question is, why should you guys care about doing well or understanding what you read?
Because we need to have a good grade for.
A what?
Good grades?
We need to understand
Good
what-
grade to get paid.
All right. So I heard Gabriel say good grades. What else did you say, Tristan?
Get paid.
So to get a good job, right?
Good at
You
It's
go to
actually a cool
McDonald's.
saying.
good education.
Yes.
Get grades to get
Where are you
paid.
working at? McDonald's.
No. I was gonna say Taco Bell. but
What did we
that's
talk
too
about yesterday with the counselor? If you guys apply for college in 3 years, what do they look at?
Well, no,
And what's that one thing that they gave us yesterday?
They look at your how your grades been,
They look at your grades. They
and
look
if
at
you
your
finish college.
GPA, your grade point.
What about credits?
Yes, your credits. Did you pass your classes?
They also look at if you even. I mean, some jobs look at if you
Except
if
if you
you
work outside.
passed high school.
Yeah. Even if you don't go to college, even if you say, I'm just going to go get a job,
Have a good job. She,
right. Even if you don't,
What is it?
She worked for Stern.
even if you don't go to college,
You go to road.
your job may still look at how you did in high school. They might look at, were you getting good grades or were you just kind of floating by doing the bare minimum? So yes, those are reasons why you need to do well and understand what you're doing. One other thing I want to point out is what you guys learned this year, next year, they're going to build on top of it. So what you learned in math, they're going to keep adding to. What we've talked about in here, you're going to do more, you're going to do harder work, you're going to have those skills. All right, let me see here. So the next thing we're going to do, we have like 20 minutes left in class, so that's about perfect time. I'm going to give you guys this sample reading that I talked about. This is why I don't want you guys to have MacBooks out today, because I want you following along with what I'm showing you. If you're looking at your MacBook, you aren't paying attention. So I'm going to pass these out, and then we're going to go through it.
Where'd it go?
What I'm going to do is I'm going to be Gabriel. You got to let me talk. I am going to be modeling for you guys. You guys are going to follow along and kind of be checking my thinking and if I'm following these steps. Then tomorrow, we will move to more independent practice where you guys are going to be doing this on your own. So today, I will model and show you. Tomorrow, you guys will do this on your own.
You have an auto.
Oh, what?
read it.
Okay, so what I do want you guys to do is, as I'm modeling, follow along and be looking for anything that I miss or anything you want to add.
You will do it on purpose.
What?
You will do it actually on purpose.
I will try. So what I'm going to do, I will also put it up on the projector so that you guys can see better.
I'm bomb blind. Can I go turn the lights off?
Just the one up front, please.
She said, "What's the phone?"
Hey, just the one up front, please.
Come on, I knew when I had them.
Everybody have
I'm doing work, my guy.
Hey, Eileen, we won't need our MacBook. Go ahead and close up. All right, I'm going to move this way so you guys can see
Reloading.
what I'm doing.
I actually don't have one MacBook now.
You don't? Good job, son.
First.
Oh, man, forever.
Come on.
He said, "Come on."
Okay, so now I have the reading that we're going to work through up here. So you guys are going to make sure I'm following these steps. Am I previewing, asking, reading, and summarizing? We're going to go paragraph by paragraph. We probably won't get through the whole thing today. We will probably just do the first two.
Did you type it?
This is the sample off the STAR test, remember? So no, I didn't. Okay, so if I look at the title, I see that it's about carrier pigeons. And I know that a pigeon is a type of bird. So right away, just previewing the text, I know that this is a bird. So it's going to be something about a bird. And since I'm on my MacBook, I can just click this arrow and I can add a comment. So I say, so this is about a bird. It's about some kind of bird. So I'm going to leave myself a note. And then I notice I'm just looking through. The first paragraph is pretty short, so I know it's just an introduction. It's not going to tell me everything I need to know right now. So I can add another comment below that and just say this is an introduction about what I'm going to read. All right, my next step is to ask. So I'm going to ask questions. So my first question is, why do I need to know about these birds? Why is this important? So I'm going to put that down here too.
Gosh, hit it.
My next question is going to be, just looking at the paragraph right here, I see the name of two different kinds of countries. So my next question is, I'm wondering about the place. Is this where these birds live? Why do I need to know this? So I'm just going to put place question mark so I know that's a question.
Oh, I got the whole thing now.
All right. So now that I've asked my question, I'm going to start reading the paragraph. People have used pigeons to carry messages to one another for hundreds of years. In the 12th century, the royal palaces of Iraq and Syria included pigeon houses so that kings could be kept informed of their generals' victories and defeats on the battlefield. In fact, pigeons were a common way to send messages right up to World War II. So I just read the first 3 sentences, and the main thing I learned was that they used these birds to do what? They use these birds to communicate or to send a message. So I'm going to put that in blue so that I remember. Okay,
That's not blue.
these weren't, I'll fix it. These weren't just like birds that sat in a tree. They actually did something. They helped communicate.
Yeah, one thing you never knew if they flew up on their own.
So I just read that they, like even kings and queens, they relied on these birds to carry a message about whether they won or lost a victory. So these birds, like I assume, they probably had like a paper So, like a general.
They kiss the bird.
Also,
I mean,
birds that you can train.
Yeah.
Like kind of a little pea brain.
That's a lot. Chris.
So I like that. You guys kind of gave me other things to ask, more questions that we need to know.
He got it stuck up there.
What I missed, Mushroom?
He shot that down.
We just
got
read
that
the first
stuck up there.
paragraph and are kind of talking about what we know so far.
Which one we're highlighting?
I'm confused.
So, for some reason, that just highlighted everything on me. I don't want
What about
everything.
the, like-
Pull up the chicken.
If it's dirty.
Oh, we're talking about Iraq now?
So we know the place. We know it was in Iraq and Syria. And we know we're talking about a bird that communicates.
I ain't getting it because if I stop.
So if I want to summarize what I read in that paragraph, I'm going to put it in my own words. And I'm going to say, I read about a bird that sent messages a long time ago. Because the 12th century was a long time ago. So I'm going to add that as my last question. I read about, not question, my summary. I read about a bird that sent messages.
It's like the movie that one
Hey, long.
Yeah.
What's that?
It's like a movie that we saw in.
The one with that versus the
In Miss Murray's? Okay.
Battalion?
Yeah, the one.
Yeah.
This section.
Yeah. So you guys were able to make a connection between this and what you read in a different class or what you saw in a different class. All right, we're going to try to go to the second paragraph now so you guys can have two good examples today before you have to leave. So I'm going to start over at the top of my strategy. I'm going to look at the paragraph first and preview. Right away, I see a date right here. So I know that they have to be talking about
I
a...
thought you mean like a date. I'm like, oh, okay.
So I know they're talking about an event or something that happened. I also see a name. So then I'm wondering, why is this person important? Why do I need to know about Nathan Rothschild?
I want to know who's like the first person to like name like a backpack or something like that.
I don't know. That would be interesting to research.
Does career pigeons count?
Yeah.
Oh.
And then, so Dom just pointed something out. Right here, I see the title of what we're reading. So that tells me I'm going to learn more about these birds. They're going to tell me why these birds are so important.
It's English.
Yeah, it says English. So they're talking about two different countries. I see France and English. So I know that they're talking about two different countries. Does anybody know where those are at? What continent?
English is in the United States because it's.
That's a language we speak.
British.
Where is the country England?
British.
What?
Wait,
It's
oh,
like
France.
right.
UK.
UK or Europe?
You're
So I know they're talking about Europe. They're not talking about the United States where I live. So I'm just going to highlight those two.
Because all of us.
England.
Yeah. And then, okay, Gabriel. Thank you. The last thing I'm going to highlight is down here where it says Duke of Wellington. Because I know from some of my other classes that I've taken that a duke is somebody who's pretty important. They were like a government official or a ruler.
Now we're talking about Dukes and Hazzards.
Yeah. So I'm going to highlight that because that tells me it's somebody important that I might need to know about.
What about Napoleon? Or
Yeah, Napoleon is an important name too. Please stop. Okay, so my next step is to ask questions. We kind of did that as we previewed. I looked at the names of people, Napoleon and Duke of Wellington, and I'm asking, why are they important? What do I need to know?
because Napoleon is the French leader of the army, and he was trying to
lead the war or lead the victory, then of course it says there he got defeated.
Right. So I'm asking, why are these people important? And then when I look at the word carrier pigeon, I'm going to say
Part of the book
it's part of the book. What else am I going to learn?
about the
Page
pigeon.
27 when you give
Thank you.
All right. So I'm just going to put 2 questions there because I want to be able to read it before you guys have to go. So in 1815, an English banker named Nathan Rothschild made his fortune by relying on messages sent to him by carrier pigeons. English troops were fighting Napoleon's forces in France, and the English were believed to be losing, so the English weren't doing very well. Few people noticed that Rothschild was snapping up these bonds when everyone else was desperately trying to sell them. A few days later, London learned the truth. The Duke of Wellington had defeated Napoleon at the Battle of Waterloo. The value of the bonds soared, and Rothschild became fabulously, all because his pigeons had brought him news of the victory before anyone else knew. So now I'm thinking, okay, what did I just read? I learned that there was a battle
Yeah.
between France and English, right?
Yeah.
And what did the birds have to do with it?
They were sending messages to each other.
Yeah, the birds brought the message back to
They're
Their owner. Or
yeah.
not the owner, but like the command center.
wait, how do they call the birds so they know?
That's
Bird come back.
well,
Like,
he's
how do they call them?
Oh.
like, how do they know to go back to
That's all I know.
that
They
person?
kiss him, they go like this. And then-
So yeah. So now I can ask.
Instead of kissing the frog,
So now,
instead of kissing the frog,
so now I know that these birds told them the news about their victory.
Mm.
So the last thing I'm going to do today is I'm going to summarize this paragraph.
Tristan.
I'm going to say there was a battle between France and England. The pigeons
You have an eye.
That's a lie.
delivered news of victory. So these pigeons were used to give the good news. All right, I'm just going to stop there because we won't have time to get through all of the 3rd paragraph. But do you guys kind of see what's happening? Gabriel, do you see what I'm doing?
Yes.
Looking for important information first,
I can do that.
asking questions,
And then you're looking over it for
Yeah.
review.
then I'm reading it, and then I'm saying, what did I just read? Why do I need to know that?
I know.
So that's where we're going to stop for today.
Is it part of